Welcome to Per Her Perspective, a podcast of raw, relatable conversations on leadership, challenges, and solutions in running a business, often with the support of smart peers. The show inspires business owners to grow, make bold decisions, and go bigger with confidence. I'm your host, Marla Noel. Let's get started. Hello, this is Marla Noel with Per Her Perspective, and today I'm interviewing Pete Fowler. And Pete is the founder of Pete Fowler Construction Services, a firm servicing clients across all 50 states with offices in California, Nevada, Texas, Oregon, Washington, and Florida. With a BS degree in construction management and some hard knocks along the way in the construction world, Pete started Pete Fowler Construction Services in, I have 2000, but I think it's earlier than that, after an attempt
Technically earlier.
at becoming a rock star. And so I don't think he's done with that rock star dream. So I think you can still see Pete perform in various locations in LA and Orange County. And I don't know about Nevada, but maybe.
Yep.
So Pete has experienced many challenges in running his business. However, after several hundred business books, I think, and working on the business instead of in the business with the help of a few different peer groups and consultants, Pete is seeing some significant success and business growth. So I have to start with, can you tell me a little bit more about that rock star experience? Because I know that's still something that is a dream.
Well, I gave up that dream a long time ago. It was the 80s, and I don't naturally have a lot of game for like picking up chicks. So I was like, what should I do? So I grew my hair long and I joined a rock band. But I had, one of my best friends, he's still my best friend. We played together in this long-haired leopard skin spandex or skin tight imitation leather chaps rock band, and we just had a ton of fun. And my mother summoned me to her home when I was 21, and she said, it's time for you to go to college. It's not, you're not a child anymore. It's time. And I was like, Mom, I'm having so much fun. I can go to college. Like I could go to college when I'm 30. There's no indignity about that, but I can't like have long hair and pretend to be a rock star when I'm 30, but I'm doing a good job at pretending to be a rock star right now. I'm like, we even just signed a little record contract. I knew I was never going to be destined to be a rock star because I don't have that much talent. I dance pretty good for a white guy and I'm not shy. This is all the talent I have. So, she said, I'm sorry, I didn't explain this very well. You're going to go to college now or I'm going to kill you. All right. So I went to, it was better for me to go to engineering school than to continue trying to be a rock star. So I've had a couple of stints of playing. I played in an old dad band in Laguna Beach, 20 years ago. And I still go back and play with those guys every once in a while. Played the Sawdust Festival and, but all of the little, dingy bars that are still in town, I played them in Laguna Beach. But then now I'm in a silly all-male tribute to the 80s ladies called the Brogos. So, but the last gap was 17 years. So it's we'll see how long this one goes.
That's funny. So you mentioned your mom, and I've heard a little bit about you growing up with a single mom, and you have an amazing sister. So tell me a little bit about that.
So my sister's now a wellness coach and speaker she took a long time off to raise the children. So, she studied biology and psychology at university, but then, became a full-time mom to 3 kids, and they're all off, they're launched now. So it's really exciting to see her do that at,
I
she's
think
whatever.
they're all taller than you are right now, right?
They are. Well, her daughter is tiny and the boys are huge, right? Yeah. Her husband is 6 foot, well, whatever, a big boy. So the kids are too. And, and we were raised by my mother, who was single by the time my sister Danny Alger is her name. By the time Danny was born, my mom was on her own. And I knew my father. He died when I was 17, but he was not a big fixture in our existence. Um, but my mother opened her own barber shop when we were very young. So she's a entrepreneur, and we lived in LA at that time. We were, I was born in Long Beach. And at some point when I was in middle school, junior high, we called it then, she took her one and only college class because she had dropped out of high school when she was 16 to marry my dad. She had me when she was 19, and my sister's 3.5 years my junior. So she took her one and only college class when I was in middle school, and it was marketing. And she learned the term target market. And she thought to herself, where can I got to go someplace where where they're willing to pay more for haircuts, because she's a barber, right? So we ended up moving to Carlsbad, and she put her barber shop right in the Carlsbad Business Park,
Nice.
where there was all these business guys. She's a barber. By the way, she was also the hottest chick in the room until she was deep into her 40s. And she's 77 now, and she's mad that she's not still the hottest chick in the room. She's definitely the hottest 77-year-old, but she is mad that she's not, unequivocally. So she's a super fun, spunky character, and it just inspired us to, she's a very energetic creature, and both Danny and I think some of that's just hardwired. You can't help it. You either make mischief or you direct it to doing something good, or a little of both.
I call
And
that the wild hair.
it is. It's this is why this is why you're a good mentor to me. You're cool-headed, operator, low drama leader,
Yeah,
where I am naturally a high drama leader.
we gave the wild hair in my family to my sisters. It's like,
Right.
keep that away. Um,
Some of it's hardwired, I think. Really. It's funny that a lot of personality traits are, some people are calm and cool, and some people have never been accused of that, and I'm one of them.
so I know that about you, but that's what makes you fun
Yes.
anyway. Um, Now, your company, Pete Fowler Construction Services, has been helping clients across 50 states. Can you share a little bit about your journey as a construction consultant and what exactly inspired you to start this company?
I started digging ditches on a construction site when I was 16 years old, and I liked it. I think it's interesting. So when I got forced off to college, I didn't realize they gave degrees in construction management. I was the first one on either side of the family to even visit a university, let alone graduate from one. So I had to stumble around for a while. So for a minute, I was a journalism major because I'm a pretty good writer
You're a
for a
very good
construction guy.
writer,
I'm
actually.
not a great I'm not a great writer compared to great writers, but I'm a great writer compared to construction guys.
Well, you did
And
help with that book.
yes, I'm very grateful for that kick in the pants you gave me to help. So thank you. And so journalism major for a minute. And obviously I played in the rock bands. And so I have low performance anxiety. And then I ended up with a degree in construction management, which is like a combination of, civil engineering and construction principles, and with a minor in business. So, when I got out of college, I was there then, sort of technically overqualified to sit in a trailer. I mean, I did some of that as a young guy, but it was like, poof, you're a consultant. Low performance anxiety, good writer, lots of construction knowledge, lots of construction experience. So I became a consultant, and I worked with a couple of different firms. Um, I learned in doing that I wanted to have high integrity. I didn't want to do silly shenanigans. And some silly shenanigans, they happen in construction, right? Like, hey, if you pay me, subcontractors, hey, if you pay me in green cash, I'll give you, a discount, right? It's like, no, like I just want to do good work. So it's how I want to operate. And so I hit a crossroads related to that at one point in my existence, and I was like, my God, I got to quit this job. And so I just took the leap. I don't recommend anybody do this, but I had bought a house well under market, and then it continued to appreciate. So I had some room on it. So I got a line of credit on the house because I had no money in savings and I had two small children and a stay at home wife. And I got a line of credit and I would write checks from the line of credit and deposit them so that I could then pay the mortgage on the house that I had the line of credit on. So that I almost started coughing blood. I was so stressed out. I had rosacea on my face. I was very stressed out. So I learned to meditate. Whether you can, I can make lemonade in any circumstance.
That's
I still
amazing.
meditate, and it served me very well.
And you have put together a team, and I've met several of your team members, and they are incredible people.
They are.
So how did you manage to lure these people over to Pete Fowler Construction Services?
So, however many have stayed, times that, not many times that, but more than that, had been driven away by my shitty personality. So it's a funny thing. I am and always have been a long term relationship person. We not only have our very first clients still today, 25, more than 25 years later, I still have my best friends, right? I got, my best buddy, we met each other when we were 15 years old. So, and I've got a lot of, I don't keep them all, but I keep the ones that I love. And, this'll choke me up. My wife, we've been married now. We've only been married 3 years. We've been together 8. And, best compliment I ever got was she said, the people who Pete Fowler loves are very lucky people. So that was the nicest thing anybody ever said to me.
I can see it in their faces when I talk to them about your company. They are dedicated and smart people. So you pick some good ones. You pick some
No,
good ones.
they're not only smart, they're just super nice, good people. And we trust each other, right? Like it's not, nobody's getting thrown under the bus. It's because we all got our quirks. And certainly, no one's ever accused me of being easygoing or easy to get along with. But they know for sure when, if push comes to shove or the shit hits a fan, that I'll be there. I'll die on that hill. So yeah, I'm not going to sell them out for anything. So I think that might be it, right? They trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can hear that. So I was going to ask you about the business books that you read, but one of the ones that you read just recently was Crucial Conversations, which I think has helped some in relationships. I've read it and I think it's helped me. Um, but in thinking of all the business books that you've read, what book do you think helped you the most in running your business?
There's so many of them. If I had to pick just one to recommend to somebody, like, here, just have this one. Because I keep them on. I'm not in my house right now. We're remodeling. We were talking about my fun with remodeling before we started this, and I put them in order of those that I recommend to outsiders and that we have people in the business read. And number one is the 1 Minute Manager. Right? You
Why
set
is that?
1 minute goals with 250 words or less, and then then you praise people when they do something good or almost good, and you
Yeah.
redirect them when it's not quite right. So it's clarity of thinking, being able to, it's what you and I in drama free management, it's management delegation, right? That's you take the vision and you put it in small chunks and you dole it out, and then you make sure it's in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that's one. The next one I recommend is Traction. It's a excellent distillation of management practices that were developed over 100 or so years prior to its publication. So, there's not an original thought there, but it's a brilliant, absolutely brilliant engineering of the collection of thoughts from many others
Yeah.
put
Gino
together in a
Wickman did a
system that
good
works.
job putting those things together. And I think his book Get a Grip is the fable version of Traction.
So yeah, I haven't even read
People,
that. It's funny. Yeah,
both are good. It's just,
yeah,
some people like to read stories and
yeah.
some like the how to. But
That's right.
speaking of how to, you've written some of a book. So, Drama Free Management, like you
Yes.
said, it's right
Yep.
behind me. And you distinguish between management and leadership. How can a clear sense of purpose help construction business owners lead their teams effectively, when they're thinking about growing and streamlining, either or, how can that help a business owner?
I think every organization needs to have clarity as to why they're there, right?
Yeah.
And our vision is not like, I was just reading a thing listening to a podcast about how Elon Musk works, and his is like, we're going to Mars.
Yeah. He does not
I don't
think
have
like
a.
people think.
I'm not going to Mars,
Yeah.
right? We're not going to Mars. Our whole deal is about us. And Nordstrom thinks the client is always right. And my clients are not always right. In fact, sometimes they are very wrong. And we have an obligation to, nicely explain that to them. But so for us, it's mostly construction projects that have had a big problem, and we need to unscrew a screwed up situation and tell people what we think and what we recommend and how much it'll cost to fix and how do you fix it and how do so how do you deal with that? And so for us, we're just trying to, I guess I still got to get up and go to work in the morning. And most of my team members are not independently wealthy, although certainly we have some who, they've sold us their businesses and things, and they they get up and do it because it's still kind of fun. And they, otherwise they might, have too many cocktails by noon or something. I don't know. I need to work to stay healthy in my life, intellectually and socially and all these things. So that it's just about, for me, learning to interact with other humans in a way that uplifts them rather than knocks them down. I've done a lot of knocking down in my life, and I'd like to try to make up for that. I'd like to get, past, the point at which I've done more good than harm. So, our core values are simple: act with integrity, solve the problem, do awesome work. Right. So it's about, doing like the doctor's Hippocratic oath, right? First, do no harm. We got to do work. And so we get up and we do work, and we do it in a way that makes sure that we don't do something that violates our principles, and we really solve the problem, whether that's on a yellow pad or whether we do some beautiful presentation and 300-page report and a 100-page construction cost estimate. But the awesome work part is we do work that makes ourselves proud, right? I read reports sometimes that team has written, or that stuff I've worked on, and I think, this is really good. It makes me feel good. I get pleasure from doing good work. We used to build buildings, and we could, look at them and go, look, kids, that's what we do. Now we make reports. It's the same, but it's different. So, um, it's the pleasure of doing good work is something that, if you like doing good work, you'll like working here. And if it doesn't do anything for you, you probably won't.
Yeah. Well, I know that those reports matter a lot to the construction clients or the insurance companies or attorneys, whoever is your client. But so you know a lot about running a business, and you could give the construction companies a little bit of advice as you go through some of the mistakes that you've seen. So, what do you think they might need to do to rethink their purpose or direction? What do you see as far as more common mistakes?
So the whole part of establishing the values and the mission and the vision for what you're going to do is a good idea, and it can and maybe even should fit on a single piece of paper. You should at least be able to talk about it in 2 to 5 minutes, 2 to 10, I don't know, whatever. And if it is, I want you guys to work hard enough for me to get a Ferrari, I doubt that's going to inspire the team.
Yeah, no.
Something more than that, it's fine. I mean, I think if all the boats are rising with the tide and somebody wants a Ferrari, that's might be fine. You just got to be careful about it, right? So that's number one. What are the principles and the mission and the vision, and are they pretty clear? Is everybody, at least when you talk about them again, do they go, yeah, that makes sense? Your behavior is consistent with those principles.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we just get into the rudiments of running a business. And if you're running a business that is not going to go out of business this week or this month or this year, then you should be very proud, and you should try to stop feeling so much stomach acid, and then just start into the things that we recommend in drama-free management. You got to document your processes. In the introduction, as you know, we say, here's how you might use this book. I keep my journal near me most times. Make a list for a day or a week of the things that irritate you. And at the end of the day or the week or the month, look hard at that list. And the one thing, don't do it for a month, actually a week. Whatever irritated you the worst that you think is a solvable problem, right? If it has to do with your child, no, it's not. Well, that's maybe solvable too. But with your business, and go work with your leadership team and figure out what chapter of drama-free management you think might help you the most, and read it together, and then brainstorm about what you can do to permanently solve that problem. If you could solve a problem a week in your business, you're going to get happier and wealthier quickly, right?
And you'll be miles ahead of your competition.
Miles. Right.
So,
Right.
and sometimes it's hard to put some actions into place. So, I know you've worked with a lot of different consultants and mentors. So, when would you suggest that somebody start looking for that amazing consultant or mentor?
I spent more time reading the books than seeking out awesome mentors. And so I would do that first, right? I would do that first. And different people have different, strengths and weaknesses. I wrote a beautiful business plan before this business started, because that's what I do well. It's dealing with the humans that are the problem for me. Right. And some people are never going to write as nice a business plan as I wrote at the end of 1999, before I started this business in 2000. But that doesn't matter. You don't need that. It can be very rudimentary. One-page planning can get you pretty far. And so, with the right mentors and the right human relationships between the people who are going to be on that team, once the team gets big enough, you got to establish a leadership team or management team, whatever you call it. Who are the people that you share things with? It's not going to come from one person,
Right. Yeah.
right? I mean, if I could have coaxed everybody into just doing, I knew everything I needed to know technically for this business to be this size probably 15 years ago. I just wasn't the leader that a business this size needed. I was emotionally immature. I just couldn't stop making people feel mad or sad.
Yeah.
So I got to learn that. And it's what I needed. It served me very well. It's what I needed, and I don't argue with what I need. The universe, kept conking me in the head like,
Well, sometimes it's those mistakes that we make that are our best teachers.
it was for me. It was for me. I mean, I only, can understand things from my own perspective. By the way, I had very low empathy too. I found that out. I took one of those tests. So that's one of my problems, right? Like, I don't know what's going on behind anybody's eyeballs. It is helpful to me that I don't even pretend to know what's going on behind somebody else's eyeballs, but I don't know. So I either got it, this is why Crucial Conversations was so helpful for me and for our business. And, you mentioned that book. We spent the first quarter really dedicated, and it's to training everybody in that model, and it's been magical. So
So it surprises me that you say you have low empathy because I know you care a lot about the people. So it doesn't seem to match to me, but maybe that's just my being
that was the
silly.
confusing part. That was the confusing part to me too. To
Yeah.
me too, because I mean very well, and I'm sympathetic. I'm certainly want to be helpful and to do good. I just don't understand what anybody else is feeling, and typically, I'm feeling something different than almost everybody else. So that is my mother, my children's mother was there when I was reading this personality profile I got, and I said, I think I have almost perfect clarity about my strengths and weaknesses in this giant report that I paid a lot of money to. It was a personal coaching thing I was going through. I'm like, but the empathy thing makes no sense. I said, I'm a very empathetic person. And she looks at me, she goes, is this like candid camera? Are you punking me? You think you're empathetic? She's like, you're the least empathetic person I ever knew. I was like, well, how dare you? What? That's crazy talk. Right. This was my management style. I can do it with a graphic. Come to find out, they don't like that.
I don't understand that, but interesting. Go
Right.
figure.
Yeah.
So I know you believe a lot in education. I think you read a lot of books, but one thing I think your firm does very well are the webinars on your website. I think those are amazing. And so you walk people through some of the things that they should look for, some of the disputes that happen, and that certainly would help people learn how not to get in those positions. But what is it that besides the why and the vision and all of those things that firms can do to protect themselves from litigation? Because that's litigation is painful, expensive, unnecessary in many cases.
Yeah, it's I think if you get to a certain size, it's going to happen some amount of time.
It's true.
But if you get to a certain size and you haven't, and your organization is immature, it's going to happen a lot. So the silly, easy way to that I explain it is the ABCs of risk management. So A is avoid potentially dangerous situations. So if you're not good at something, don't do it. If it's an inherently dangerous line of work, like construction's always dangerous, so either get out of construction or move on to B. B is be very good at what you do. And that's, I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. I'm all over training and education and continuous process improvement. So that's B. Be very good at what you do. And C is cover your assets, right? So have a really good insurance broker and make sure that you are insured for almost any eventuality. A great insurance broker is almost as important as having a great lawyer that you can call anytime. Be good at your contracting practices. We've got to spend some time, as much as small business owners are in the weeds, working in the business, swashbuckling and slashing through the jungle with their machete, they've got to get up above the tree line and work on the business and think about it from a big picture perspective. That's, quality tools like Lean Six Sigma or any of the quality tools that would have you do a value stream map at the top line, at the top level of your business, so that you can just really start thinking about it in chunks and you can start drilling in, right? You can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to just do it one bite at a time. So figuring those things out at that level, working on the business it's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. And speaking of working on the business, we have talked a lot about business structure. And I think one thing that you are thinking about is the single threaded leader. So there are some businesses that are doing that. Tell me a little bit about what you think when it comes to the single threaded leader.
Because I think we've sort of outgrown the basic tools that are in the book Traction, right? That's a great book, and I highly recommend it, even for larger businesses to get your head around it. But it doesn't really address, when you get to 100 people running around, you're now starting to have either geographic business units or you have business units we call them practice areas. So we do construction defect litigation, and we do construction management, and we do building inspection and testing, and we do injury claims and things like that. So these are different practice areas. We got an office in Florida, so that we manage that separately from the work on the West. So that business unit leadership, the best model that I have seen or read about comes from Amazon. In the book that two of the senior executives that, no longer work there, I think they have a consultancy. So they wrote this fantastic book about Amazon's business practices. In one of the theories, they would have single threaded leaders, and single threaded is just the term that they took from electrical engineering or something. It's one
Yeah.
circuit or something. But and it used to be that single threaded leader led a 2 pizza team. The team couldn't get bigger than that which could be fed on 2 large pizzas. So whatever, something like a maximum of 10 people ish. I think they're changing that a little bit. We'll see how that works for them going forward, but that makes sense along with the principles of Scrum and the Agile Scrum principles, which is really where it seems like most of Amazon's principles came from, that grew up around the early 2000s. But for us, single-threaded leadership just means somebody's in construction management, we call it one throat to choke, right? Who is the boss? In a small business, it's the business owner.
Mhm.
People say about communism's a problem because who's going to stay up all night with the cow if the cow belongs to everybody?
Organizational charts are hard, and so if you think back to the first org chart you created, how many different versions of that have you had?
We still yell at each other about it.
I know. I've heard a few of those conversations. Um, so I think you've had a lot of successes. You've had a lot of challenges. What is one thing that you wish you'd done sooner?
So what really turned the whole thing around was I just started focusing on the leadership team. So, and you've seen it, I have this, because I have a magical information system, I've had a genius IT guy on the team for
I
a
have a
long
genius
time.
IT guy. Yeah, it's amazing.
And so I can chart and graph almost anything. So if I chart top line revenue of this business, it's almost exactly follows the quality of my life, which is not good, by the way, right? I don't want an economic downturn to decrease the quality of my life if something I don't have control of. But so far, the business is of the size that the economy is not driving it for me. It's more of our work. So we ramped up in the first 7 years. And when I tell the story, I show the first, it's like a third, a third, a third. First 7 years was back when I was a genius. And it was awesome to be a genius and know everything. Oh my goodness. It was so awesome to be a genius. And then there was like 7 years in the desert where it was like, wah, 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 wah. I got a divorce and I ended up with the kids full time. And my God, it was terrible. But there was a lot of education in there. And by the time it bottomed out, so now, so it went up and then it came down and it literally came like a day from going out of business. The bank called me. I was literally a day from bankruptcy. But since that time, it's been a constant upward trajectory. But in the time right before the bottom, I was still having a messy life, but I knew it was about the leadership team. I needed to have a leadership team and that was unified and a bunch of single threaded leaders in what they were doing, right? And that's what I did. That's what I've done. So you were very complimentary about these people. They're hanging around with me.
You've also participated in peer groups. So I'm very focused on the benefits of peer groups. I think it helps people tremendously. Tell me a little bit about the peer groups that you've been involved in and how has that benefited you?
Benefit has been tremendous, including when I was going through a divorce at the worst time of my life. These people had become my best friends. So I joined what at the time was called YEO, Young Entrepreneurs Organization, because they at that time still had the courage to kick out the 40-year-olds. They've since lost the courage to kick out the 40-year-olds. So it's now called EO.
Mhm.
So I started there and I joined the minute I was allowed. I knew that at that time, this is back when $1 million in revenue was a lot of money and you had to do $1 million worth of revenue. By the way, they haven't changed that still to this day, 25, 30 years later. It's still $1 million in revenue. So the bar is functionally lower than it's ever been. But it's a fantastic organization. I'll tell you why in a minute, why I know this in a moment. So I was in what was YEO, what became EO for almost 10 years in the same forum group. So I met every month with the same, you know, 6 or 7 or 8. We had between 7 and 10 or 11 people throughout time. At the time, I started in Orange County, California. I moved to Portland, Oregon. I would fly back to California for my monthly meetings. This was so important to me. These guys are great guys. I then was not in one for a minute, and then I joined the Service Corps of Retired Executives (SCORE) peer forum that I ultimately met you at. But in between there, I joined Vistage for a minute. It's
Uh-huh.
very expensive, good group. Somebody was starting up a group, a guy who had a business like mine that sold it, started up a group. It ended up not working out. So that was not a great experience for me. But I know lots of people who have awesome experiences with Vistage. It's
Yeah,
just very expensive.
I
So
was one.
so I quit that and rejoined the SCORE group where I met you. You
Yes.
were You were co-leader with another of my mentors who was a score mentor,
On
and
Pietro. Give him a
John
shout
Pietro,
out.
who's, oh my goodness, fantastic, fantastic, great genius, great marketing genius. And in that group, I got referred to that group by a guy named Stephen Groner, SGA Associates, who's also a fantastic business guy who I was in YEO with for that whole time. So we've
Really?
been, like I said, I'm a long-term relationship person. So Stephen and I have been hanging around together for over 20 years.
And he's an amazing individual
My
as
goodness.
well.
Yes. I assume you're going to interview him here because he is a superstar.
Yeah, he
He's a
is.
superstar. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so now, fast forward to today, I've moved to Las Vegas, just over halftime. I split time. I used to split time between Orange County and Portland. I now split time between San Diego and Vegas. And I joined because I want to meet people and get enmeshed in the community. I joined EO Las Vegas. And I don't know if all EO groups have really upped their game to the EO Las Vegas level, but they are awesome. It's a really good group. Their forum training is absolutely incredible. So I highly recommend it. So,
So you mentioned that, and I'm involved in a few peer groups, and I participated in Vistage and WPO. But so tell me, what does that look like? The forum training.
so we all had forum training, so in a peer forum, generally you get together, with whatever. It's like it's a mastermind, right?
It is.
And if anybody Google mastermind and what is a mastermind, but they really have honed in on, it's like, if you can, they say things like, if you can call your CPA about this question, or you can ask Chat GPT, right? Then that's not what you talk about with your forum mates in forum. They say, it's like the 5% of the best things or the best opportunities, the 5% of the worst things or the things that are going to drag you down. And that's what you bring to forum. And they have all of these tools, that are sort of based in psychology and based in human behavior and emotionally based. Because this is, people think the problems aren't technical. The biggest bottlenecks for a small business going from small to medium, it's mostly about the emotional hangups that the leaders have,
Yep. Oh,
and the owner in particular.
yeah.
And this is why I'm so grateful for the education of being a small business owner. It taught me things I was never going to learn about interacting with other humans and getting control of myself. So, it's been fantastic.
Good. Yeah, that I know that's a good organization, and it's been around a very long time as Vistage and WPO. I'm just a huge proponent of peer groups. It's the concept of surrounding yourself with other really smart people, right?
Yep.
You can't know everything. And if there's an issue that's going on in your business, chances are somebody else in the room has experienced that, right?
Yes. And the pattern, if you're going to do, humans are great pattern recognition machines, right? But if you're by yourself, the patterns aren't going to emerge as quickly as if you're in a room of people who are doing the same thing, something very similar to what you're doing. And every small business that's trying to go from small to bigger are bumping into the same exact things. 90% of what they're bumping into is the same stuff. So I'm actually I'm trying to get to the point in which every person in my company is in a peer
Yeah.
forum.
Which is a great idea. Not always easy to find at different levels, which is too bad because, we need peer groups at every single level. So we've talked a lot about business growth. I know where you want to eventually end up, and I know you can get there. You've grown organically and you've grown through buying other businesses.
We've made three and a half little acquisitions. Yeah.
So what's the next step?
We're just doing the same, it's before enlightenment, Upwood, carry water. So we're just literally doing the same things. And we're just doing science experiments, on trying to go, we have a vision and we define in quarterly meetings with my leadership team. We go off site and we establish the next target conditions. We look closely at the numbers. We're super key performance indicator focused. We're super focused on having written plans, and we're just marching. The whole idea, this whole low drama thing to me, is it just makes most people do these things. It could be, it's so high drama in most people's life. And that is the drama is friction. Peter Drucker said friction, confusion, and underperformance are the only things that happen naturally in organizations. Everything else requires leadership. Our abbreviation for friction, confusion, and underperformance is drama. And so if we can keep the friction low, we can keep ourselves emotionally, we can increase our emotional maturity, we can increase our organizational maturity, we can more easily make plans and stick to them. And when we make a plan and we stick to the plan and it doesn't work out, well, then we learned something, right? And if we make a plan and we stick to the plan and it did work out, well, we're just going to push that button more cookies, please. Cookie, 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 cookie. Just do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of what was consistently, I don't know about mentioned, but referred to in the book was discipline. The practices that you have in chapter 1, it's discipline. And I'm wondering, as you were writing the book, is there anything that you learned about yourself or about your business as you were writing the book?
We have too many systems in our business for the size we are. I write too much, too many words. So what I learned is the editing is good, as few words as possible to communicate what is necessary, right? So that's the right thing, to keep the number of words as low as necessary, right? What did Einstein said? Things should be as simple as possible, but no simpler.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be the whole next decade is consumed with this compulsion I now have to articulate the I have come to believe very clearly that there, in most aspects of human endeavor, or at least many aspects of human endeavor, there are a collection of practices, and everybody calls them something different. I call them deliverables, right? Or milestones or increments, whatever you call them, practices and deliverables that when learned and executed with discipline, they lead to positive and predictable outcomes, right? So the collection of practices and deliverables, you do them, you really stick to them, they lead to predictable and desirable outcomes. So that's drama-free management is a collection of practices and deliverables. So is the practice of construction cost estimating. There are a collection of practices and deliverables. So are the practices of construction management. So are the practices of project management. Those are just 3 more of my next 3 books, right? Actually, it's not the next one. I have developed a collection of practices and deliverables associated with drama-free expert witness. That's my next book. So that's what we do. Much of what we do, probably most of what we do, is in the expert witness realm. And we have created a collection of practices and deliverables. So that's what it took me a long time to get my head around that.
But it seems as though your people really have that concept nailed. And did they come into your business that way, or did you teach them that?
Well, remember,
Again, Pete is slapping
chicken
the
baby.
air.
Yeah, I'm right. So, some people are naturally more process oriented, and those are the ones who should become project managers. And some people they're more sort of, it's just like the difference, the visionary and the CEO and the COO, right? The visionary and Traction has a name for it, integrator.
Integrator. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that's been the way that partnership has been the way of many, if not most, successful large businesses and things. And that's our model. So somebody's the subject matter expert, and somebody's the I dotting, T crossing, making 100% sure that 100% of what needs to get done gets done, and build, and all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and delivered. Right. Mad scientists can't find their pencil, but nothing happens without them. Right.
Yep. Yep.
At least in my business.
Very true. So, if you were to buy another business, what would that look like?
We're for sure going to buy a lot of businesses. So that is, we bought some already. We got up to a certain size, and we collectively, this is where the health of the leadership team came in. I tried to buy a business and I got outvoted. And the fact that I took a vote meant that I had moved from one level of organization, one level of leadership maturity to another. And then when we all voted, and I was the only one that voted in the affirmative, so we know how everybody voted. I did a secret ballot. I passed out stickies, and And when I was like, all right, well, I think you guys are wrong. And they literally, it was Dylan, you know Dylan. He goes, so you're not going to do it? No, I just got outvoted. He's like, we thought you were still going to do it. So they learned a lot about me that day, right? About the new Pete Fowler that day.
Yeah. And that's hard to go from wanting to do something and doing it anyway to letting your team participate in the decision making.
By the way, I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad.
Well, you'll get over it eventually. Well, we covered a lot of topics. What question did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
I think you did great. I think we covered way more ground than I thought we were.
Well,
I normally have to be slapped into submission to be quiet, and you did a good job of redirecting me.
I knew that this would be a good conversation because we always have a good conversation. And I really appreciate the people that you've introduced me to in your company. Very smart, very just driven people. So
It's
fun to work with.
we're all lucky to have you, Marla. We're lucky to have you. Right. It's
Thank
really
you.
I mean, to me that it's if nothing else, it's like you gotta if anybody thinks they know enough by themselves, they're a danger to their business, right? Hubris is so dumb. It's
Sure.
so fascinatingly dumb. It causes everybody suffering, especially the person who has it. Especially, it's so dumb. If that's if that's the takeaway, to stop being dumb, people. So, I mean, so for me, it was my best education was this endeavor, and because this endeavor needed someone different than I was before, and I like this version better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say that watching you run meetings, it's fascinating and it keeps everybody on the edge of their seat and alert. But it is a consensus. And I think when you are out looking at buying a business, I think the people that you have purchased have come into your firm and been a part of your firm and enjoyed working in your firm.
They're all still here.
Yeah.
A couple of them are getting old, so they might not be here long. So I gotta hurry and buy some others, right? Because the best possible referral is somebody who has been bought and thinks it was a great experience and stuck around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, none of those people are obliged to stick around anymore, and they're still here, so it's really nice.
Yeah. That
I
says
mean,
a
I feel
lot.
so grateful, and it's like, oh, keep taking good care of them, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast. And I appreciate your time. And we're going to have to do some more podcasts after you buy another business or get to that next level. And
Yeah.
we're working on that. So thank
When
you
I
very
figure out business unit leadership, I'll come and tell you what we did. Or maybe
much.
you can just figure it out for me, and then we can come on and I can tell them what you did.
We're working on it. Okay. Thank you, Pete.
Have a great day.
You've been listening to Per Her Perspective. I'm your host, Marla Noel. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss what's next. To go deeper, check out my book, Drama Free Management, a practical guide to moving teams from high drama and low performance to low drama and exciting results. To connect with me, visit my website, ocgrowthadvisors.com. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and perspective.